We're now over halfway through this V1 Malta Series Championship, and one thing is for certain, the heat is starting to get a little bit more intense. The drivers just now started to find their rhythm, especially as we take a trip from the first half of this season, but now we enter into our second part and a more indeed a more challenging circuit now on the horizon in Saudi Arabia. It is myself, James Otter, alongside Adam Reed here tonight for what will be no doubt a very intense race ahead of us here, Adam. So many corners, so many that could be lost for count. I no doubt we're both going to end up missing some of the corner names, the corner numbers at this point. But Saudi Arabia, probably the biggest challenge on the calendar for these drivers. Early precedent setter has been set by some of the drivers, but they've really got to carry that form on into this now. As I said, the hardest difficult on the circuit.
James, yeah, we're in for a real cracker around here in Jeddah. You know, a circuit that has been a constant kind of staple on the V1 Malta Series calendar. A track that's featured since season 5. And of course, last time our winner was Daniel Chinny, who last season in season 7. So he'll be hoping to try and continue that as he currently sits 5th in the championship. It's a very, very quick circuit. 6 kilometers, just almost, just less than a kilometer shy of Spa-Francorchamps. So these 25 laps are going to be high intensity, high pressure, high stakes as the championship does loom near. We're in for a very intriguing night of racing, I feel.
Yeah, 27 corners of intense action, no doubt, is going to be the key setter here. I think one thing is for certain is that it's all going to be about qualifying. As we said, Christian Samet with the fastest lap and the lap record of 1:29.327 could fall down the standings with these cars, of course, getting faster. Our last visit to this generation of Formula One car. But last time out, of course, we had a little bit of an intense race in the end. Simeon Nechchev taking the race victory by just over half a second to Andrea Borge, and then Michael Misford McMullen making a Williams podium and a Williams 3-4 as they're looking particularly good in the championship. In terms of the championship, for that matter, that result ends up resulting in what is no doubt a very, very, very happy Andrea Borge, because the man in the Alpine in the title hunt is currently leading this championship over Matthew Cassar. Didn't have the most fantastic of races last time out and has extended his lead in the championship to 76 over 51. David Misford, up to 49 now. Michael Misford McMullen up in CP6. And that 3rd and 6th place for Williams means that the constructors are looking fairly sharp themselves as well, because, of course, Williams probably the most consistent of the teams here, Adam, I think. The top step of the podium in terms of the team standings now. We're halfway through this season. 10 points separating them from Alpine. 53 points shared from between Mercedes and Ferrari. McLaren a little bit underperformance at the moment, you'd have to say, in fifth with 50. Then Kick Sauber jumping up a couple of positions up to 38. 31 for Racing Bulls. 10 for Aston Martin. 7 for Red Bull. Haas yet to get off the mark. Williams, though, they are the team showing the most consistency. The person showing the most pace, though, Andrea Borge at Alpine.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a massive moment in the championship. This one, this is going to definitely flip around. You know, I'm having a look on my spreadsheet. You know, there's definitely some drivers that are looking so confident going into this one, and maybe some that are going to be feeling the pressure. Monza was a complete change up. You know, that race really kind of defined who this championship is belonging to. Whilst Andrea Borge now has 4 podiums in the last 4 races. Matthew Cassar, DNF. Alexander Galea because he disconnected from the server, disqualification. Daniel Chinny only getting a singular point from Monza. So last time he won a race was back at Spielberg, where he went back to back as well. So one in season 7, one in season 8. Can he do the same thing now? He currently sits 5th in the championship, 38 points. That could be a big deficit to try and overcome.
One thing to make note of as well is we've got some slight breaking news about the defending champion as well for this race. In just a few short moments, we'll be heading through into qualifying. Don't go away. Welcome back to the V1 Malta Series. Welcome back to Velocity Esports and the Jeddah Corniche circuit for round number 5 of the V1 Malta Series here. We should be in for an absolute cracker. You want a little bit more information, folks, about the breaking news that's happening? 15 drivers out on the left side, but have you noticed a very noticeable absence of McLaren tonight? And the defending champion himself, Alexander Galea, is not taking part in this particular title hunt here as it stands because he's not competing at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, and that is a massive blow to his title hopes considering his disqualification last time out.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be a complete changer. It's, he's being set back massively, so he's going to be losing a maximum of 50 points. Is he arguably out of the title hunt after this race as well? So it does seem like Alexander Galea. We are being told that in our little earpieces that he might even be missing the next round. So that could potentially be championship over for Alexander Galea. So of course, as I said, I'm pretty sure I said this last time out, but these guys are, they're normal human beings. They have other priorities other than just being able to sim race every single evening. It's not a luxury that these guys have, and the guys that are able to do it are massively lucky that they do get the time as well. So it will be massively interesting to see how they all do as we get another interesting message. Yeah, Christian Kurmi in the Aston Martin fell asleep just before his race, so completely missed it. So that kind of just shows that they're all human. They're not really trained either to be able to try and race competitively. Of course, these guys are doing it in their own free time. And here it comes over the line to start his lap. And, I was going to say end of the board, but it's David Misford in towards turn number 1 and in towards 2. We've got some of the tightest corners you'll see on the circuit. Of course, you'll see many yellow flags out there for slow cars setting up their lap time. So expect a few slow-moving cars about the circuit, hopefully not on the racing line, because that's going to cause a massive amount of issues if that does come to fray.
Yeah, I think Kirsten Kumi electing to use what is called the Sebastian Buemi technique of racing styles by having a bit of a kip, but unfortunately he went a little bit too far. So, but unfortunately Aston Martin driver found himself in a bit of a sticky situation there, but he's fine now. He's just sitting in the pits, I think having another nap at the moment is Kirsten Kumi, Mercedes driver rather, having a little bit of a kip at the moment in the pits. Here is the Williams Mercedes that, as we said, of David Misford, Dave Potts, as he goes by in the names. What a fabulous season it has been from Williams, and what a fabulous rebrand from Williams as well. As of the 2026 season, Williams F1 team, come on, that logo is to absolutely die for in the real F1 universe.
Oh, I saw that earlier today, and I was absolutely happy. I was so happy. I saw the rebrand. I was like, this is going to be interesting. And my goodness me, it did turn out to be absolutely wonderful. Dave Potts is now going to go over the line and do a 127.0. Emerson Zarb 2 seconds. So, but what about Keith Muscat here in his Red Bull, transferring over from, I believe it was Williams. I remember in season 6, but of course season 7 was completely different. But yeah, he has made that move at some stage from Grove to Milton Keynes, and he will charge that Red Bull power-trained Red Bull car into the final corner. And put that throttle to the metal, and then he'll head his way over the line here. Where will Keith Muscat go? It looks to be as good as maybe the top 10. It will definitely be top 10. It'll be top 6 for Keith Muscat, as well as Adam Qureshi puts himself into P8.
I wonder as well, speaking of sort of rebrands and relooks, whether Red Bull are also going to have a completely different livery, or at least a slightly modified livery next time, of course, when they go to Red Bull RBPT Ford for the 2026 season. That'll be one to keep an eye on in the real life F1. Anyway, back to the action here at V1 Malta, as we're just watching the kick sauber there of Neil Kassar diving straight into the pits. He wasn't comfortable with his lap at all. And here is none other than, we got a little bit wide there. There was little Ilwi leader himself, not finding any comfort at all, is the sleeping man himself, Kirsten Kumi, sleeping a little bit on the job as he heads his way towards turn number 27, and he'll try his hardest here to try and stay awake all the way down to the start-finishing line. A nice, gentle rocking all the way down the start-finishing line, which he may find a little bit sleepy, but he's got to get on with it as he now heads into turn number 1. And the Mercedes looking like he's just managing to clip turn 1, turn 2. Actually quite well, to be fair, is that Mercedes, as he's now heading through this, what will be a particularly difficult set of corners if you are not particularly awake. You've got to make sure you keep as close as you possibly can to those walls without going over, because if you end up hitting a curb or hit a wrong, you could end up bottoming out, especially this corner right here. Infamous corner where we saw, of course, Mick Schumacher crashing out in the Haas back in 2022, I believe it was, wasn't it? Chucks the car through the left-hander as he will do his best in the Mercedes to try and set a lap that will really keep the people around him awake and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Down in towards this next sequence of corner. I think the car just over-rotated there in towards the left-hander. I think the rear still wants to keep stepping out as he now heads his way on towards the next sweeping couple of corners. This is such a blind corner. It's, you're completely... You're trying to look at the apex and you're just staring at a wall. There's not really any point of turning in. You happen to look to the right hand side for that maybe turning point, and even then that might even be blind as well. Yellow in the first sector, but here comes Kirsten Kumi and he'll try and accelerate that car all the way down the main straight. He'll be in 15th, but hopefully he won't be dozing off, and he won't be, because he puts himself up in the midfield, up into P8 and onto the 4th row of the grid. He'll be joined alongside Emerson Zarb if things stay this way, but with 11 minutes to go, don't expect this to change about. We're also, I think this is best to confirm this now. No matter who's on pole, we will be getting a 5th different pole sitter here at Jeddah. So of course the last 4 pole sitters have been Gretsch, Bonello, Karabot and Galea. So there'll be a completely different pole sitter. We could also find ourselves with 5 different winners in the 5 different races that have happened here at Jeddah, as long as Daniel Cini doesn't win this one in his Ferrari, as Michael McMullen goes to P4 onto the 2nd row of the grid he goes. So, Jeddah really throwing up a bit of a storm in this one.
Yeah, Michael Misford McMullen looking fairly strong in P4. And once again, Williams showing that they are the team to beat at the moment, with Misford leading the way. If you don't mind, Mr. Director, I know there are other people on laps at the moment, but I do want to take a trip down to P14 and Andrea Borsch. He's just starting his lap right now, I believe, heading through into turn 1. Now, the championship leader, what can he do in this particular race? This is a circuit. Its overtaking is quite difficult, but if you put together the perfect lap, the amount of comfort and celebration that you get. It's actually, we've just lost the current pole sitter of Misford. He will reconnected to this session imminently. What are we going to see from Andrea Borsch here tonight? Because surely if he puts 2-3 tenths between him and his front row co-compatriot, he will be just setting into the stars his idea of what he sees in this championship, which is nothing short of a championship win, as he's looking to be setting some pretty early indications here that he has definitely got the pace. Misford rejoining the session, thank the Lord, as he's now just going through the 2nd sector. DRS will be open from this point onwards as he now heads down here and towards that blind left-hander where we've seen multiple people make mistakes, including one other than Lance Stroll in the real-life F1, as he now heads down towards what is a set of not really corners towards then what will be turn number 27.
Indeed he is, and now we'll have to see what the current championship leader can do. He'll get the car rotated around, and with a 25-point lead in that Drivers' Championship, where will he put his car to try and go into pole position, take pole position again? It's 3rd with a 127.328. So the RP looks strong, just needs an extra couple of tenths there, but David Misford looks so strong And I don't think it's the end for Daniel Chinny. I still think he's out there trying to push a lap there, but that will not help whatsoever. That was a whole chunk of curb, and I don't think the plank will like that underneath the car. I think that will be a scraping a lot, and we'll get a slow-mo replay of just the whole sparks coming out the bottom of the car, and he's invalidated it already. So I just wonder if he's going to be able to maybe go out once again, but with a worn set of tyres. Matthew Cassar will pick up Mercedes over the line. And he stays in P4. Interesting.
Yeah, improves on his lap time, but not his position. Stays on the second row behind Andrea Borg. At the moment, I would have thought that 27.0 would have been fairly easily beaten initially. But you know what? Turns out it's actually a pretty good initial lap time from David Misford. Of course, the man P3 in the standings overall. He's looking fairly confident out there at the moment, is the Williams. So we'll see what his next lap is going to be. He's currently on and out lap. We're following at the moment the Red Bull. This is the Red Bull of Keith Muscat. This is the Kick Sauber just getting out of the way. Look, this is not a bad effort actually from Red Bull. Remember, well down the field in terms of the standings at the moment as he chucks the car through 27. I'll be honest with you as well. I don't think there was a lot of rotation in Andrea Borg's car at turn 27, and I think that's probably where he lost all of his time. No improvement there from Keith Muscat. So turns out that maybe, just maybe, Andrea Borg not quite as confident at this particular circuit. And you can't blame him for being a little bit more conservative on this particular circuit, because if you get it wrong, 9 times out of 10, you're in the wall. As I'm looking at the left-hand side, and look at that. That's a missing end plate on Ronskin's car. And it looks like he has ended up falling foul, Aaron Demesh, of the walls in exactly the pretense that I thought.
Yeah, it's so easy to do that. Just having to think of where could he have possibly done that? You know, there's plenty of places. Maybe the exit of turn 2, maybe even turning into turn 3. I think that may have been the most likely case. Or is it turn 4? Let me just double check my my track map. Turn 4, yes, the fast left-hander before going into some of the sweepers here at Jeddah. And we now look around the circuit. It looks like David Misford is still on pole position. Daniel Chinny there sitting in second. Andrea Borg, interestingly, not on the front row. You know, he's been so competitive, taking 3 pole positions in the last 3 races. The other pole position, the older pole sitter, I should say, Daniel Chinny back at Zandvoort. So this could be the 3rd pole sitter of the season. Or does Andrea Borg or Daniel Chinny have anything up their sleeve with just less than 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go? It's starting to get a little bit warm around here in Jeddah, especially, you know, it's a deserted country, and that made Mr. Dead just getting a little bit twitchy there, but he's heading into the pit lane, it seems. Oh no, he's not.
No, that's a very, very weird way to it. He's actually matched his pole position lap time to 1,000th of a second. So clearly a lot of confidence at the moment in that Williams Mercedes, but can't improve on his lap on this occasion. His co-compatriot, on the other hand, can improve. At the moment, he's just breathing down the neck of Simeon Nechtev's first sector split. Let's see what his second sector... Oh, he's absolutely flying. He's gone purple in the second sector. How's Michael Misford McMullen? Now, are we on case here, potentially, for a front row lockout from Williams Mercedes? That'd be a lovely scenario here for the championship leaders as they head towards now turn number 27. Try and get this car rotated in. Couple of bites at the cherry, but taking it a little bit calmer. Happy for the car to be a bit slower on entry to get the faster exit. Here it comes towards the start finishing line right now. Oh, it's only P5 in the end. He manages to close down on the gap to Simeon Nechtev, but it looks like to me that he just lost it potentially all in the first sector by the looks of things, because he did match Simeon Nechtev in that first sector, but his second sector split so fast, and I think that may be just a pure indication of something potentially brewing at the moment at Williams Mercedes. Here's Samuel Borg. This is the other Ferrari driver down in P14 at the moment, non-representative, 29.742. Second sector split coming up right now. We'll see what his lap times are. He's found 0.3 of a second. I don't think that's purple though, because it was a bit slower than Michael Misford McMullen, but the Ferrari Ferrari looking fairly strong as he now heads towards turn number 27. And as we're starting to see now the front four begin their journey on their final outlap of this event, we'll see how Samuel Borges does as he gets into turn 27. A couple of bites of the cherry once again, didn't want to hit that inside wall. He'll head now towards the start finishing line and hopefully get himself probably within the top 10 as it stands. As he comes across the line right now, oh, it's only P13 in the end. He lost a bucket of time, looks like, at that final corner.
He did indeed. That's not going to be too useful there for Samuel Borges, taking it to 13th. Both Aston Martins on the fringes of the top 10. We'll have to see how Adam Qureshi does, but he does smack the barrier there on the right-hand side. Luckily, no damage, but he is just trying to find his way through the streets of the Jeddah Corniche circuit and on towards this left-hander. Green flag flashes away just to indicate there is a clear track ahead until you get to that final corner of turn number 27. We'll see if Qureshi can potentially do anything. I think he's just looking for 2 1/4 tenths here over his teammate and Aaron Demek to try and put himself into the top 10. Is that going to be possible here for the Aston Martin driver? He'll close out the line as much as he possibly can. He'll only stay in, he'll go up to 11th in fact, but it's still just that little bit shy, 55 thousandths of a second back of Aaron Demek. And you're just looking around seeing who can improve with 2 minutes to go, because now you're seeing everyone starting to filter their way out of the pit lane in what could be the very crucial moments. The track is up to temperature, the tires should be up to temperature, the brakes are up to temperature, the car is in a primal position to go as fast as possibly can. The fuel is completely burned down to the point where it's going to be finishing that lap and running on fumes to finish out this qualifying session. But Matthew Kassar is pushing hard, second in the championship, and he's of course now looking for that opening to try and maybe put himself on that front row. But that's a big moment here in towards the left-hander, trying to get that traction down. Purple as well. Matthew Kassar on a roll.
Yes, his teammate Sleepy is just in front of him actually as well, so he could get a nice little tow heading down towards the DRS zones here. So this is a good opportunity now for Matthew Kassar, who's actually setting a purple first sector. What's his second sector split like? Here he comes then as he approaches it right now. It's not purple on this occasion, but it is very close indeed to David Misford McMullen. It's not purple, I don't think, because he was a bit slower than Misford McMullen on that occasion. I think there's a little bit of a glitch happening at the moment on that wall, but we'll see anyway. Whatever happens, it is going to be a blisteringly quick lap time here from that Mercedes. And the second place man in the championship is sensing an opportunity to potentially put Andrea Borges under pressure. Here he comes, and as he comes across the line, and he does go pole by just a few hundredths of a second. Where's Misford McMullen in all of this? He is currently in the first sector. Daniel Chinny is gone to P3 as Andrea Borges is now relegated to P4 in all of this situation, by the way. This is starting to get a little bit intense. Chinny very close to the wall as he goes through that left-hander. Looking very sharp, though, is that Ferrari on the front end. That could prove to be quite helpful in racing trim. 10 seconds to go. Checkered flag is imminent as he comes across then towards this final corner here. It's not rotated very well at all, has the Ferrari. Daniel Chinny will be hoping that maybe he hasn't lost too much time as he'll come across the line with the checkered flag right out, and he lost that time in the end at the final corner. He will be relegated down to P3 as it stands. It could be even worse for him as well. Where is Misford McMullen? I think he's a little bit further up, isn't he? Here's Misford McMullen. I think he's David Misford rather in P2. Where is he at the moment? I think he's approaching turn 27. So this is going to be a fairly critical lap. Is he getting a tow from his teammate, I wonder? I'm not so sure. What are the Williams boys thinking at the moment? I think the Williams boys have held each other up. That could be really critical. We'll see. He's getting a tow all the way to the start finishing line. Here comes Misford. He's been held up from pole by his teammate Andrea Borges has got the pole position as the championship leader. I cannot believe what I have seen in this event. Semyon Nechchev is not improving either. Andrea Borges is on pole, and Williams, the first crack we have seen, and the 3 and 5, they could have had pole.
Wow, that is going to be a real game changer in the hopes of this championship battle. There will be a discussion down at Williams and a very stern amount of words said between teammates. I think the plan was to give, Mifsud the toe, but it just didn't go to plan. Wow, that is going to be, well, that's going to be it, really. That's potentially even denied Williams of a first pole position of the year. But Andrea Borg grabs his fourth out of 5 pole positions this season, fourth in a row, and and of course will now go and set himself up for what could potentially be another championship extending race on this terms. Of course, this is going to be one of those races that you're really going to have to keep the intensity up. Daniel Chinny, of course, a former winner of this one, down there in fourth, but it'll be Borch from Kassar on the front row of the grid from Daniel Misford, and then Chinny with Michael McMullen ahead of Timion Neshev on the third row of the grid. Keith Muscat will be alongside Sleepy Man of Ilweda.
As it looks
And
like
then we find the pass there of Daniel Galea with Samuel Borsch and Neil Kassar will round off the 15 cars here at Jeddah. And of course, well, James, we are in for a superb night. Look at the top 4 there. 0.2 of a second. Chinny could have gone even faster, but the car just didn't want to rotate. There's so many open opportunities for what these guys can do. And I don't know about you, but this is going to be one of the most hotly contested events, I think, of the season.
Yeah, and I think Williams have got a lot to learn after that one. They are showing the cracks of the championship leaders in the constructors, but we thought was cracks from the championship leader in the driver's standings. He's got pole position, and he's going to be leading the way from the front from this race at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in just a few short moments. Don't go away. We'll be back after this break. Oh, wow. Wow, what an intense qualifying we have just had at the Jeddah Corniche circuit here in Saudi Arabia. It is myself, James Otter, alongside Adam Reed, your usual co-commentary pairing for this event. And Adam, we are on our formation lap here. Andrea Borg getting pole position for what, well, let's be honest, should have been a Williams pole position because they made that mistake and ended up holding each other up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those where you've, you live to regret it, but, the points are scored in the race. That's where you get those 25 championship points for a win. That's where you get the big points for competing in this championship, not during qualifying, maybe in other championships, but we'll have to see how this all goes and pans out there. I think Andrea Borg is going to be set for a good run down towards turn number 1. Matthew Kassar might try and stick it on the inside, but you've got 25 laps to look forward to, rather than just the sprint races that, may happen around here that people usually kind of go with, you usually load up 5 lapper around Jeddah, high intensity, no soft tires there, but I think there will also be a bit of management as well. You've really got to keep an eye on those tires all throughout this event. So as Andrea Borg now moves his way up towards the start finish line, a couple of our drivers still not made their way around turn 27 yet, but this is the part where the drivers really have to now get focused here, because this is going to be one of the championship's defining rounds before we head on to the final three.
Stand by, folks. We don't have our defending champion here tonight, and what is an opportunity for potentially a new crown going to be falling on the head of someone as a result, or at least giving them a good chance of having that one. Will Andrea Borg capitalise on top? Will Williams learn from their mistakes? Or will Daniel Chinny or Matthew Cassar continue on their run to try and potentially take Andrea Borg all the way to Abu Dhabi in just a few weeks' time? With the drivers lined up on the grid, they are going to be getting themselves ready for what will be no doubt a very intense race ahead of us in the Jeddah Corniche circuit, fielding the finest drivers that Malta can offer. No more waiting. Let's go racing here and then. Saudi Arabia. Andrea Borg is trying to hold off from an attack from Matthew Cassar, who's an absolutely fabulous start. Down the inside of turn 1, around the outside of 2. Where's the traction? The traction for the Mercedes, potentially. They'll still continue side by side, but it's a great effort from the man second place in the title, but they're still going to be squeezing off of the circuit. Will the Alpine go? Matthew Cassar will continue battling. They bump. Wheels going through those corners, but the Mercedes will get the charge, and Daniel Chinny will put pressure now on Andrea Borg because he's had a poor exit. He's gone up on the curb. Here's an opportunity. The Ferrari can sense it. He could go for it. Is he going to go for it? He will not. He will play the patient game against the Alpine. Chinny stays in P3. Cassar, fabulous start at the race beginning. He gets up to P1, but he, like everyone else, is on a medium tyre, except Andrea Borg. He starts on a hard.
Yeah, that's going to be critical with this strategy. He's got to try and go longer than everyone else and really focus on the cars around him. So that's why he just didn't quite have the grip compared to Cassar and Daniel Chinny. And whilst he's waiting on the grid, of course, on pole position, he was really struggling for temperature. Look at the two Williams there, keeping in 4th and 5th here. McMullen is going to be piling on the pressure here. Daniel Chinny. Chinny will be feeling it from behind here. So he'll have to now keep on focus here. It's so easy to look behind you. Look where that red arrow is, but you've got to keep an eye on that blue and pink Alpine. As they cross the line for the first time on towards lap 2 of this race, Cassar will really try and just extend that advantage over the Alpine as much as he possibly can. He'll be aware that that pink and blue coloured Alpine from Enstone will be on those hard compounded tyres, so he'll be looking to extend as much as he possibly can, just build that buffer towards the pit stops and see if he can potentially do anything about trying to get this race win here. It'll be his first race win since Zandvoort, if he can achieve it. Off goes Andrea Borg, and that just tells me the tyre just aren't gripping up.
He's already now below the 1 second barrier, which means that his DRS will not be active against Matthew Cassar, which may leave him in a vulnerable position against this man, the rampant horse himself of Daniel Chinny in the Ferraris. He chucks the car through the right hander, then the left, get on the curb, trying to avoid the wall on the outside. Very well taken. I think Matthew Cassar Andrea Borg has just kept DRS on this occasion to Matthew Cassar, but he is pushing at the moment as we've got someone spinning out by the looks of things. I think it might have been an Aston Martin who's lost a bucket of positions, might have been Kosheki, I think, down in P14. What is happening, actually currently battling at the moment with the other Alpine of Ronskins himself, that's Aaron Dimesh, who is looking to try and just capitalise and get some good points on the board for Alpine in their title hunt, of course, as we've got more battle happening between Gaming with Neil Cassar and the other Ferrari man of Samuel Borg. We are now on board with Mr. Sleepy himself, that is, Christian Kermi is looking to try and set, some early indications here now is Kirsten Kermie, but handing the position over to the other Chris himself, that is Christian Kermie. They will continue to go side by side, both powered by the Mercedes power unit, of course, but down to P9 is now Sleepy himself. We'll head back up towards the front, though, because as it stands here, Daniel Chiney has actually lost a bucket of time to Andrea Borg. Now his tyres have started to switch on here now, Adam. With the hard tyre now switching on, he's now starting to welcome himself back into this battle. Lap 3 of 25, 22 to go.
Well, you say that, but I think Mati Kassar might be saving. He knows how, deadly these tires are, how much stress gets put through these sets of tires. Because look at it, you're just winding left, right, left, right, left, right. Every single lap you're doing that. And I think he's just trying to nurse those tires a little bit. He wants to do a one-stop. He'll need to take them to around about, I'm going to say lap 12, lap 13, probably lap 13. No, lap 12, I think, is the best one for the medium compound tyres. They will last that long, but, their tyre drop-off will probably be about lap 6 here. So I do suspect that the Mercedes to be caught at some stage, but Andrea Borg is just allowing himself to push it. Michael McMullen has gone off the circuit, going to allow his teammates to get a little bit of a draft here, all the way down the main straight here as the two senior and the two, I was going to say the two Red Bull teams are batting each other, but now Andrea Borg is into the lead of the race because Kassar wants to go for a move here, but I think he's just piling the pressure. So this is going to be an interesting way to play this one. He almost loses the rear.
And that's every possibility of now trying to chase down Andrea Borg completely gone just by bottoming out over that curb, losing the rear. And now he will have the DRS, of course, off the back of Andrea Borg, but he's not going to be battling too strong now with the hard tyre runner and championship leader, who now retakes his lead in this race, of course, after losing it at turn number 1, and that strong battle happening between Kassar and Borg. It's a great bit of racing between them at the moment on lap 4 of 25. It gives us a chance to talk about Williams. What is happening at Williams at the moment? Because Matthew Misford McMullen making that mistake down in P4, which meant that David Misford is trying to get the DRS off of the back of his teammate, but actually losing it on this occasion. So Williams still 4 and 5, but they're quite vulnerable out there at the moment on circuit. I'm wondering if it's that mistake in qualifying has got into their heads a little bit here, are the two Williams boys. It looks like Misford McMullen is happy to just drive away from his teammate at the moment, who David Misford is not finding any comfort out there at the moment. Are the medium tyres just not the choice type for the Williams outfit at the moment? Oh, is Andrea Borg again struggling with the front end of that car, trying to give it a bootful to get the rear stepped out so the front will actually turn, but that's offering an opportunity potentially for the Mercedes of Matthew Kassar to get on a bit of pressure, gets in the wing mirror, but electing not to put any intense pressure on that pink and blue Alpine Renault as they now head towards turn number 3. Will the Mercedes elect to continue that pressure, or is he going to look for it maybe in the first DRS zone, I wonder?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I think what the strategy is with the medium compound tyre runners, they're going to try and get to about lap 12, lap 13 to make sure that those tyres get all the way through there. And to do that, they do need to do a little bit of saving. So, you're going to see them being a little bit slow through some of the corners, like that first sector, like the right left hander of the one they're coming up to now. So that's their game plan, I think. And then they're going to try and push as hard as they possibly can on the hard compound tyres. Meanwhile, Andrea Borg is trying to get those tyres to last around about lap 15, lap 16, before then pitting and then trying to go as fast as he possibly can. With the medium compound tyres. So that medium stint, I think, for Andrea Borg would be so critical. So expect a slow burner here at Jeddah, but I can assure you we're going to be seeing plenty of action here. Matthew Kassar still staying within 0.4 of a second, gains up to a 0.3 of a second now, and then we'll get a double dose of DRS, the harvesting light just off the back of both the Mercedes and the Ferrari switching off there. So now they're applying energy recovery system all the way down the straight. It looks like now Kassar is in a bit of saving mode, so you can clearly tell that Mercedes powered car is very much in its save mode for sure. Still harvesting away, but is that going to be the way to go? Emerson Zarb comes into the pits early as the sole Racing Bulls driver and onto a set of hard compound tyres. Now, is that going to be to the end of the race? Because that's going to be a very bold strategy.
A little bit early, but nothing too out of the ordinary, I don't think, between them, as Emerson Zarb now coming into a fresh set of hard tyres and no front wing either. So it looks like it is purely a tactical decision from the Racing Bulls team. As I'm just keeping an eye out on Matthew Cassar. Now, he's not really putting Andrea Borg under pressure, but remember, he has got the tyre delta, but only just at the moment. So if he was wise, he would consider potentially trying to get as close as he possibly can to the back of that Alpine Renault, because it will be fairly critical for him to potentially burn through those hard tyres, or make him burn through the hard tyres. Again, a bucket of understeer going through that corner, though. And I'm wondering if the medium tyres, actually, the tyre delta has actually swung now in the other way of the hard tyre runners, I wonder. We'll see as he heads into turn 27. Does that Mercedes lock up a front? Does it struggle to turn in, or does it get it in? It needs a couple of bites of cherry, but you can see the understeer, but you could possibly counteract that with the fact that he is getting dirty air off the back of the Alpine Renault as they head now down towards turn number 1, starting lap 7 of 25. The Mercedes, I must admit, looking a little bit further back on this occasion. Is he just settling in? Are the tyres starting to fall off? Oh, you can see there a bit of a wiggle coming out of that corner. So I do think the medium tyres are starting to fall off a little bit, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was kind of thinking, and that's why, you know, these guys were saving Williams getting involved in a battle here. It looks like Mifsud has got him past, in fact, past McMullen here, so he's going to try and romp off down the road here just to get ahead of his teammate and just try and, but also you got to try and not leave your teammate in the clutches, the likes of Keith Muscat. It was Emerson Zarb who was up in that top 8 gaggle as well. Front wing change here for Adam Qureshi. You saw him hit the barrier on the right hand side of one of the corners. In fact, the corner they're just coming up to here on about the second lap of the race. So that's just been ever being a problem to the side of the Aston Martin driver. So he's going to come into the pits now and make that change. Meanwhile, at the front of the field here, Matthew Cassar is losing a lot of time here to Andrea Borg. So clearly the medium tyres are not cooperating, it seems. Has Daniel Chinny said anything? Meanwhile, that's a penalty there for Daniel Galea, and I think the Ferrari is going to try potentially go for a move to pressure that Mercedes on the outside line. Don't go for the move. Don't go for the move. He's going to go the long way around, get the exit here on the Mercedes, and he'll power his way all the way down the straight. Cassar will know this, and he is now going to try and stay defensive, but there was absolutely zero defense to that one, and up into P2 for Daniel Chinny. How has he been playing this game? So that's probably why he's been sitting back ever since lap 1 here. And again, Misford is playing the defensive role here on McMullen. Yellow flag out there. It's Andrea Borg.
Oh, wow.
Borg hit the wall.
Borg has hit the wall, and that's what happens if you make that one critical mistake at this circuit. Just a little touch on the wall, and you could be out of the race. No safety car is out for that stricken Alpine, and we continue racing. The championship leader is out of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and Daniel Chinny is now your new race leader. And Matthew Cassar will suddenly be thinking, hello, I've got a real opportunity here to close up that gap. Remember, the gap is only a small margin, but with 4 races to go, how critical, 3 races to go rather, after the end of this particular race, how critical is that going to be for the championship? They might be 9.5 seconds back, but Williams have got another podium as it stands with David Mifsud at the moment in P3. It'll be 3-4, and that will solidify Williams's outfit as a potential and probably the favourites now for the Constructors' title as well. This is a great effort and a great opportunity, but Matthew Cassar struggling with his electrical recovery system power. He's getting a bucket of understeer from the back of the dirty air of Daniel Chinny. He senses that opportunity, but surely they've got to have to consider their strategy soon, because now they're not going for P2. They're not going for P3. They're going for the race victory. Matthew Cassar catching Daniel Chinny, maybe slightly getting a front lockup, might offer an opportunity for Cassar, but they'll continue to follow in tandem. This is now a battle for the race victory. With that championship leader out of hand, we have got a race on.
Well, you spoke about how crucial this could be for the championship, James. Well, I'll let you know, if Matthew Cassar can win this race, he'll go equal on points with Andrea Borg. 76 points to 51 points. If he gets the race win, that is it. They're level on points going into Sakia and then in towards Mexico and Abu Dhabi to round off the season. This is going to be one to really, really feast your eyes upon. Now, Chinny is starting to lose the rear a little bit. Will they be able to make it to lap 12? That is going to be the big kind of key question in all of this, because Kasai is now starting to gain, but look how low he is on energy recovery system. He's going to go to the inside, and then he will just lift off there to say, you know, I am here. I will overtake you. It's just a case of when, because it's not going to be now. I do need to do a bit of saving here, especially with that energy recovery system. Is he going to do exactly what Chinny did last time around? Because, yeah, Chinny's gone on the outside, and there's a bit of DRS chicken going on here, whilst they are now sitting at 10 seconds ahead of both Williams cars. They can afford to do this.
And this is where Matthew Cassar is struggling now. In order to be a world champion in this event, you've got to be absolutely perfect. The problem with Cassar is he's not perfect at the moment. He is hemorrhaging time on the straights as a result of having no electrical energy whatsoever, despite the fact he's got DRS. At the moment, the person with the more ERS is Daniel Chinny, and actually, Cassar has made a mistake to make matters worse here. So the man currently P2 in the standings in Matthew Cassar has got an opportunity now to potentially draw level with the championship leader. To do that, he needs to win the race, but he keeps making mistake after mistake after mistake. And when that occurs, you're dropping points. When you drop points, you don't win titles.
Yeah, that's kind of quick maths, in all honesty, about that one. And we look to be having a couple of manoeuvres all the way back. That's going to be Keith Muscat in the Red Bull. Has he hit the wall potentially? Because he's gone past both. Yes, he has. Left-hand side of that Red Bull. So he's been in the walls, and he's going to be cutting that left-hander there. That's going to be a real difficult scenario here for Keith Muscat. Yeah, just through 16 and 17, that sequence is absolutely fine-tuned through that one. And I think both Saubers, again, are going to be in a really, really good opportunity to score points. Remember, coming into this weekend, it's of course, Simeon Nechev, the most race winner, up into P5. Chinny into the pits, Matthew Cassar's into the pits. He's hit he's hit the polystyrene board there, it seems, to notify what the pit entry speed is. In comes McMullen as well, so they've only made it to lap 11, it seems like. So this is going to be hugely interesting on this part. But yeah, Sauber currently sits 6th in the championship. They took 33 points last time out in Monza. You know, what can they do in Jeddah?
Keep an eye on
look to be taking 18th place here. Looks like Emerson Zarp there is going to be now into a place.
He's done him. Wow. I'm sorry to interrupt on this one. Zarb has got in front of McMullen. That undercut has worked an absolute treat here for the Racing Bulls. Now, of course, he has to take those tyres a very long way to the end of this race here. But gap of 2.5 seconds to Misford McMullen. Sorry, a man who Michael Misford McMullen has also got a time penalty to his name as well. So with that Racing Bull now in front with a time penalty for the person behind, is he suddenly a little bit of a dark horse potentially for a challenge of the podium? This is all dependent on those hard tyres going the distance as it goes from bad to worse for the Alpine team. Another time penalty falling on the hands of the other Alpine, that is Aaron Demesh, as we're just following Simeon Nechev, who is getting closer and closer and closer to David Misford. No issues whatsoever. The Kick Sauber will now take the lead of this race as we've got a full course yellow and the safety car is now out. So we've got debris on circuit. Everyone will now slow down to 40% race speed. That completely opened up this race? I believe it might have done. A 10-second penalty for Neil Cassar, making it bad to worse for a collision with Daniel Chinny, obviously caught off guard. Drive-through penalty as well for the other Daniel as well. That is critical for the Haas team as well. We've got to yet to get off the mark here for Daniel Galea. But into the pits they will now go. Here's Sleepy Siren himself as we just see more people diving into the pit lane. As it stands, though, it looks like Daniel Chiney, decent. Matthew Cassar, okay. Misford McMullen up to P3 will now close up that 10-second gap. So opportunity for Williams. Simeon Nechchev, P4. Here is Dave Potts himself in P5. Looks like the Mercedes as well of Kirsten Kumi's decent in P6. So actually, after all of that time to commit to the undercut, Emerson Zarb is actually going to have to commit to a two-stop now if he wants to try and maximise this. Actually, this race falling in fairly decent for Zarb now, but he's down in P11, so yeah, it could have worked, but he's lost time and under the safety car anyway. So, yeah, bit of a shame for Zarb, because it would have been interesting to see how that strategy would go, as Neil Cassar, another 10-second penalty now for ignoring yellow flags. What is happening to the Kick Sauber? I think that's 20 seconds worth of penalties now on my name. No, pardon me, it's 10 seconds worth of penalties for Neil Cassar, a drive-through for the other Daniel. So yeah, that's critical for Kick Sauber. They were looking strong, and now they've got one driver going to be sent all the way to the back as it stands. So leader of this race, Daniel Chiney, Matthew Cassar, then you've got Michael Misford McMullen in P3 from Simeon Nechchev, and then David Misford rounding out the top 5. It's still a very good race result, whatever happens as it stands for Williams Mercedes.
Yeah, table has been absolutely rotated here. It has been pretty much turned on its head. If you're a little bit confused, I could probably take you through the grid to kind of run down what has potentially happened in the last few laps here, because Daniel Chiney is now leading this race. Of course, Matthew Cassar, that was the main two battles in this one. Michael McMullen was leading, I believe, or was it Simeon Nechchev? One of these two were leading. As in comes David Misford. So Misford definitely has not pitted, so he's going to be coming into these latter stages. So I think it's McMullen who was leading before the safety car, and then Simeon Nechchev was right there as well. It looks like Kirsten Kurmi is alive and awake this time, because he's now sitting in 5th. But of course, don't doze off just yet, because you are in a very, very good position here. But penalties there for McMullen and Kirsten Kurmi. How that go for them? Then we find Samuel Borsch in P7. He's not doing too bad. Some big points potentially for Ferrari, that's at 4th in the Constructors' Championship. Neil Cassar, of course, had the 10-second time penalty for a collision with Daniel Chiney as the safety car was peeled out. He served it, and then he apparently ignored yellow flags, which now means that he sits in 7th with another 10-second time penalty. He might as well just come in and get another set of tyres on that race car. Adam Demek in P8, he's got a penalty as well, I believe, track limits. And then you've got Christian Kurmi in P9, have Emerson Zarb, who looks to be on a 2-stop strategy. It looks like Dave Misford is there as well. I believe he's a driver that's only taken 1 stop in this race, so we'll have to see how that all pans out. Keith, we're going to actually be able to have a look here. In fact, he's taken 2. He's a 2-stopper here, so he I think did a medium hard on this one, so that's going to be massively interesting. Then Keith Muscat is a 2, and then followed by Daniel Cassar, Adam Qureshi, who's also done 2 stops. Safety car in this lap here, so we're going to get racing very, very soon. And Daniel Chiney's going to be feeling the pressure here, but this has really leveled out the playing field here, because that top 4 could be very, very into battle here. You know, this is going to be pretty spicy here, James.
The safety car just peels into the pit lane now. They'll be given full control over their acceleration pedal. Will the cars leading from the way, and it looks like the Ferrari is trying to get going as late as he possibly can. And I think there might be a bit of a concertina effect coming out the final corner, but it shouldn't be any massive issues. Oh, he's completely caught Cassar off guard as Daniel Chiney. And in fact, Misford McMullen might be putting some serious pressure on the Mercedes. We go green again here in Jeddah. Is the Williams going to go for the dive into one? He's certainly looking for it down into turn 1. They back wheel through the drivers off the track, but Cassar will go. He gets a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. He may need to give the position up as well equally, but is Cassar going to hold on to the position? Does he think that McMullen unfairly got that position going into turn 1? It doesn't look like the Mercedes is giving that position up anytime soon, so the Williams will stay in P3. What a smile on the face from ear to ear for Daniel Chiney, his nearest 2 rivals, both now with time penalties.
Yeah, that's going to be massive in the Drivers' Championship. Daniel Chinny, who sits fifth, he's going to go past Galea. He's going to go past Misford. And
Oh,
if it all pans out here, a moment there for Samuel Borge. He's being overtaken here by both Salbers, it seems. Oh, just sitting there on the outside line. I think also Neil Kassar is going to try and find a move here. Sideways there for Adam Demek, as he's going to be overtaken here. What seemingly is going to be past David Misford. So the chaos is kicking off immediately here on lap 14 as they file their way through this sequence of corners and go past the hundreds and hundreds of floodlights that line the streets of Jeddah here. And we now ride on board again with Neil Kassar, who currently sits in sixth place, trying to find a way past Kirsten Cooney. But up at the front, Daniel Chinny again might just be in saving mode. That car doesn't seem to be. Well, it doesn't seem to be the quickest car out in the field. I think that's going to go to Matthew Kassar. I'll hold my hands up and say I think that Mercedes is faster than the Ferrari. It's just a way of trying to find a way through. Plus, the energy management has just not been there for the Mercedes driver.
Well, signs show a seismic situation in the Saudi streets here, and Matthew Kassar doing a decent effort himself to try and hold on to the bike now of Chinny, of course, after battling with Matthew Misford McMullen, who actually raced alongside Daniel Chinny at the start of that one, managing to catch Matthew Kassar completely off guard. The Mercedes now with a 3-second time penalty to his name, possibly ending any hopes of trying to potentially at least tie on points in the championship now, alongside Andrea Borge, who of course has now DNF'd after crashing out at turn number 4. So Matthew Kassar now falling to about 0.8 of a second behind Chinny, who is flying now, by the way, in that Ferrari. Matthew Misford McMullen, I keep saying Michael Misford McMullen in P3 at the moment in the Williams Mercedes, breaking the DRS of Simeon Nechchev and Neil Kassar. Remember, Neil Kassar with a 10-second time penalty for speeding under the safety car. And here is Sleepy Man himself, Kirsten Cooney, looking like he's not tired at all out there on circuit at the moment. He is flying, but of course with that time penalty himself. And speaking of flying, look who's coming up. David Misford is looking fairly sharp in the Williams. He's got a point to prove. Kassar trying to battle here with Daniel Chinny. Looks like under DRS he's used some of his ERS as well. Now Kassar has been really struggling with his ERS management, so he's got to be careful. He's got to say, oh, he's used it all up, folks. What's he doing? He's now made himself extremely vulnerable already to a very quick Daniel Chinny with plenty of ERS and now DRS at his disposal.
Yeah, that's going to be a game-changing. We'll have to see how that all pans out. It looks like Daniel Chinny is way fueled up in terms of energy recovery system. A retirement there for the sole Haas driver of Daniel Galea. So that now leaves only 2 drivers that will not be in the championship points, and a DNF. What seemed like here from McMullen, a disconnection for the Williams driver, and he's going to start tumbling down. The driver who sits 6th in the championship, coming fresh off the back of a podium finish last time, Monzo is disconnected from the session, and that is going to now see, hopefully he's got to try and return to the server. Meanwhile, his teammate is in the wall with which seems like the Mercedes. Don't worry, folks, they're still going here, but they just was brushing each other alongside the sponsorship paid barriers. I'm sure that David Mitford will have a little bit of maybe concrete barrier alongside his tyre. So here comes Daniel Chinny. How aggressive will he go with this move? Just keeps the pressure here at the Mercedes. Doesn't seem to crack here, does Matthew Kassar, but that hard tyre running Mercedes does seem quick. I don't know about you, James.
Oh, I tell you what, though, Michael Misford McMullen might find himself very lucky indeed that the AI has been set up high enough that he's only just lost DRS to Simeon Nechchev. So actually, the Williams Mercedes might not be under an enormous amount of pressure from Neil Kassar, who is now 1.4 behind. You can see the AI has been set quite high. I think this must be into the 90s for that car. So he's going to allow to reconnect back into this session and carry on going with his race while his teammate is about to get closer and closer to the Mercedes once again. Looks like he gave the position back up to the Mercedes. This is the battle for P6, P7, please. P6 and P7, please, because this is getting fairly close at the moment between these drivers. And once again, here, David Misford is seriously putting the pressure on the back of that Mercedes of Kirsten Koonmi, as he looks like he's got a little bit wide out of that corner. But the Williams again using the toe. It's a very slippery car, is that Williams Racing mobile, as he now heads down towards the blind left-hander. Is he going to look for it into this corner? He certainly could at the moment, but he's lifting off the throttle. A mistake from the Mercedes. That could welcome up a little battle going into turn 27. Is he going to go for it straight away? DRS is there. Is he going to get squeezed? He is getting squeezed up against the advertising hoardings, but David Misford now up to P6 in this battle, but he will lose DRS. Of course, the Mercedes will get that one back going through turn 27 as they head then down towards turn number 1 as they start their 18th tour of this race. As we're going to see, is there going to be a battle here? It might be a close battle. We've got a battle happening with McMullen and Neil Cassar. McMullen lost the position in the end to Neil Cassar, but of course that 10-second time penalty means he's not under too much pressure. He is back in the race now, by the way, folks. So it is Williams 5 and 6, so it's not the worst situation in the world for Williams, but, and it's a big but here, McMullen has now got internet connection issues. We know that. Can he stay in this lobby and still churn out a decent result with a disconnection problem and a time penalty to his name?
We'll have to see how this all kind of pans out as we just follow back here. Emerson Zarp, who is in the middle of this little battle. He is chasing down the Mercedes of Kurmi, but behind him is Samuel Borg, the Ferrari, who's looking to try and gain a couple of extra points for the Italian-based team. Was over in the famous Maranello has been made famous by Ferraris. We've got someone in the barrier that looks like Adam Koreshi. He's managing to keep going here. He's not a DNF from the session, so it doesn't look like we're going to be getting another safety car out here. So luckily, I think for some drivers, you know, we're not going to be seeing anything dramatic. There is the backdrop here of the Jeddah Corniche circuit in the night sky, where the championship is being absolutely fired up, and the gates have been flung wide open. And another thing that's going to be flung wide open is the gap for the lead. And Daniel Chinny attacks the space and up into the lead of the race once again. He leads the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Matthew Cassar, will he have any response in his back pocket? Well, I'm not too sure, because that Mercedes may have used its tyres just that bit, and of course more energy recovery issues. I think if this was real life, I'd be maybe potentially sensing that the heat is really damaging the energy battery, but of course this is only the virtual world, so we really can't play any of those cards in the commentary. I think it's just down to Matthew Cassar's side of driving, but Chinny seemingly decided to drive away, have the tyres potentially started to go off on the tire compound tyres, and Matthew Cassar, you see how windy this road is, and I think that, and the Ferrari driver of Chinny is looking to go back to back, winning with Red Bull last time out in season 7. Can he do it again in the Ferrari for season 8?
Michael Misford, McMullen getting closer as well for the battle for P4 against Neil Cassar, of course, losing the position. Matthew Cassar, another 3-second time penalty to his name after track extending. Suddenly, it's looking like he might be at risk of losing the podium as it stands. Will, the man, second place in this title hunt. He's looking to earn as many points as he can off of the back of the demise of Andrea Borg earlier on in this race, but he's making mistakes left, right and centre, and I did say with every mistake you make, he'll be watching you, will Andrea Borg, and there'll be no mistakes needed. No mistakes are allowed if you want to win a title in the Velocity Esports V1 Malta Series. Here we then come on our 20th tour of this race. Here is Misford McMullen getting close to the back of Neil Cassar. Time penalties galore at the moment for P2, P4, P5, P8 and P10 respectively. 6, 13 now, 3, 3 and 3. So I think Neil Cassar's race is pretty much all done and dusted unless he can get an appeal out there. Daniel Chinny smiling from all ear to ear at the moment. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. That Ferrari is looking stable, comfortable, plenty of ERS, plenty of tyres, 5 laps to go. He just needs to get that car home.
He does, and I think that's really going to inspire some confidence in Daniel Chinny. As long as he nurses it home, I think there will be a bit of a spring in his step out of the simulator. Daniel Chinny has been a driver that is really, really seemingly he's really learned over the last couple of seasons. He's really been a fast driver, a consistent driver. Yes, he'll make mistakes from time to time, but we've seen from Andrea Borg, he will make mistakes time and time again. So we now see Matthew Cassar gaining onto the back of the Red Bull driver, but he gets ever wiser. Does the Ferrari driver? We'll see if Matthew Cassar can potentially go for this gap. But you've just seen there the yellow bar at the bottom of the steering wheel. That's the amount of ERS he has, and it looks like he is sending that Ferrari defensive. Simeon Nechev 3 seconds behind, but I don't know how much of a part he will play into this. You can very easily lock him into third place already. It looks like Adam Qureshi's gone with the soft tyres to try and round off this race.
A bit to go. We've got some battles happening between Mercedes and Racing Bull. He's not looking tired at all at the moment as Kirsten Kumi gets the move done on Emerson Zarb, now up to P7 overall in this race. Looking very sharp indeed now is that Mercedes. So as it stands so far, Chiney is doing a really good effort to try and extend his lead rather over Matthew Cassar. Simeon Nechev looking for a very classy P3 for Kick Sauber. The lean green machines themselves looking very tasty indeed. Neil Cassar, who we're on board with right now, 13 seconds worth of penalties. He may try and get some unraveled on appeal, very close to getting straight into the wall from Neil Cassar. But as it stands so far, this is where the big battle is happening. It's the lead of this race, of course, as we've got a caution and the Sector 2 yellow flag out for a spinning car, and it is the other Alpine there of Aaron Dimesh. Not very good at all. What a horrible race weekend from the team's second place in the standings overall, Alpine Renault. As we're following Matthew Cassar, is he going to use overtake? Is he going to try and get as close as he possibly can to the back of that Ferrari? But look, straight out the corners with all of that electrical energy available for the Ferrari. Is Matthew Cassar going to get anywhere near potential an overtake? No, on this occasion he has to hold station. He's really burning up his ERS as much as he can, is Cassar, but on the straights he is just no power whatsoever in that Mercedes power unit. As a result, Daniel Chiney still looking fairly confident for the race victory. Oh, a big tank slapper, well held from the Mercedes. Daniel Chiney very happy to see right behind him a man very slow and also no grip out on circuit at the moment.
Yeah, it just seemed like the hard tyres are also starting to fade away at this stage of the race. You've really got to be saving as much as you possibly can. So I can't imagine how these guys must be feeling at the moment. They'll be just going through the phases, through the ways of the emotions that you do in a race here. And Matthew Cassar really trying to get that car rotated. It does look like it rotates more than that Ferrari. So he's going to try and put that into whatever he possibly can, but it does seem like it is a bit more snappy. Daniel Chiney will get a bit more of a sluggish exit, but it will mean that he's a bit more comfortable. It's only his mistakes when he clambers a curb that it kind of loses time here. Cassar will now look to that inside line. Will he play a bit of DRS check-in? Nope. He slides on through and will put himself into the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But we've seen this move before, because here comes Daniel Chiney on that outside line. He'll blast his way past the Mercedes and up into P1 once again. The reigning winner of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix really looking to do it again. 3 laps to go.
Oh,
a big battle here. This is McMullen up the outside lane of Neil Cassar, and the Williams car just slices his way on through. Good move there, and he's trying to retain fourth as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, fairly critical that he tries to hold on as well. His teammate down in P6 at the moment. Still a battle happening between the other Ferrari there of Samuel Borg getting past Emerson Zarb for P8. Oh, Neil Cassar is having an absolute stinker. It's 16 seconds worth of penalties now for the not-so-lean green machine that is the Kick Sauber. He'll be falling very, very lowly down in the standings. I think if my math works out right, I think he's going to fall as far as P9 as it stands at the moment for the man currently in P5. Matthew Cassar, though, that is a pure example of what his problem is at the moment. He's using up all of his electrical energy, goes into turn 27, gets the move done, and before they get anywhere near the DRS zone, Daniel Chiney has got so much electrical energy that the Ferrari power unit is powering him past the Mercedes before he gets anywhere near needing to use the DRS button, and that is not the best case scenario. Michael Misford McMullen has given the position back to Neil Cassar, weirdly, so that's the battle for P4. Matthew Cassar though, in this little battle happening is just, again, look, he's just absolutely no power whatsoever in that Mercedes power unit. It's enough to get away from Simeon Nechchev, no issue. But as it stands so far, as we start the penultimate lap of this race, Daniel Chinny is looking like he's going to be on for another very classy race victory here in Jeddah.
Yeah, but that will be very much needed for the Ferrari driver. You know, it's still not over, but I can't imagine how Andrea Borg will be feeling, and the the kind of angry energy that he's going to be filled with going into Bahrain next weekend. You know, you can really get a sense of how he can going to potentially approach this that next weekend. We move across the Middle East to the the Sakir International Circuit. Yeah, Matthew Kasai just trying to do whatever he possibly can, but you just see he's so low on energy. He's losing the tires, he's losing the grip, he's starting to slide about the circuit here as well. So it's not quite coming with him either. But this is a man that has been really, really playing his cards well. You know how quiet Daniel Chinny was at the start of this race. It may have just proved dividends to just hold back just in those early few stages and attack in those latter. He's really come on strong, and he's been ever wise. Every single race, this young driver continues to grow and become more experienced, and of course championship material every single game franchise as well. He just tries to adapt as best he possibly can, and we head on to the last lap, but the battles are still not over. Neil Kassar goes back to attack McMullen here. He tried to fight that around the outside, but the Williams is having a double lock up. He's going to go a little bit too wide here, and I think Kassar is going to try and come back at him, but the Williams just sticks ahead and will try and score more critical points for the Williams team, especially with an Alpine team that are currently scoring 0 and a Mercedes team that are scoring quite the bit.
Yes, it's a big points haul potentially going to be falling in the hands of Williams, but of course we have those time penalties to apply. Daniel Chinny is now starting to drive away from Matthew Kassar, and I think he's noticing he's having to use overtake when he doesn't really need to. His teammate, we're now with a 3-second time penalty, dozing off right at the end of this race he is, as he's now heading across the final couple of corners in the second sector. Matthew Kassar is now out of DRS of Daniel Chinny at the moment, and you can see right there that DRS flap is firmly closed. Daniel Chinny has absolutely molded this race to perfection. The Ferrari man, P5 in the standings. At one point you're thinking absolutely no chance whatsoever this man is going to be anywhere near a possibility of potentially getting in the title hunt. But when it countered, when Andrea Borg flopped and cracked, the man in that Ferrari was very happy to ride his horse home, and the scarlet red Ferrari comes across the line to take the victory here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix from Matthew Kassar. Simeon Nechchev finishing in the classy P3. We're still battling for P4, by the way. Mullen comes across the line behind, gaming with Neil Kassar, but he will be relegated, and there will be David Misford, who will take P4 at the hands, and Williams Mercedes will extend their lead in the championship. Here is the sleepy man himself, Kirsten Kumi, finishing across the line in P7, but will be relegated to P8, P9, as Neil Kassar does manage to hold on in the end to P7. So actually it's a valiant drive towards the end of that race from the man with 16 seconds worth of penalties. And it's a final point for Christian Kermy, and Aston Martin will get at least a point on the board from this particular race as he finishes in P10. Here is Alpine. P11 comes across the line, and it will be a pointless event from Alpine Renault, and that is so critical in the Constructors' Championship, with a 4th and a 5th place finish from Dave Potts and McMullen themselves, getting a good points haul of 22 points, extending their lead in the championship by that said amount. And the final Aston Martin himself, Adam Qureshi. It is a race that could just be easily forgotten, can't it? Unfortunately for the man who will finish in P12 in the end after everything is applied. He just could not get a very clean race together. He'll finish on a very used set of soft tyres in what will be P12 for this V1 Malta series. We are finished round number 5, and now round number 6. Suddenly, I don't think this championship is looking like it's all going to be Andrea Borges, Adam.
No, there's some big point scorers in that top 5. Of course, Galea not being here, Borges not being, Borges retiring. 15 points to Kassar. If he does have that penalty continued on,
we saw in the post race. But of course, the tickets will come in, the stewards will investigate, and we will get a result in a couple of days' time, which I'm sure will be the talking point. Especially going into the first thing we get into come the broadcast in 7 days' time, when we do go to Sakia. But the celebration starts, and Maranello hang another flag out of Maranello to signify another victory. It's their second of the season. Of course, Daniel Chitney going back to back. Simeon Nechev will be in second, headed David Missed, and it looks like Kassar will be in third there, ahead of Mitford and McMullen, but Zarb in P6, ahead of Neil Kassar, and then Samuel Borges, and then we go for Kishan Kermi, ahead of Christian Kermi, with Aaron Dimek in P10, Qureshi, and then it'll be Daniel Galea, Keith Muscat, and Andrea Borges to round off our DNS and our results. 15 cars took to the circuit, only 12 survived, and James, this is now just close up the championship battle. Will Andrea Borges be feeling that kind of fiery kind of boost behind the back, or will he be cracking the pressure? Because there's two different ways you can attack the next round of the championship, and honestly, I think there's going to be a lot of questions for those top running drivers in this one.
That's the critical thing, isn't it? We knew Saudi Arabia was going to be potentially one of high attrition. We got a safety car in this one as well. But of all people we thought at DNF, Andrea Borges didn't think that one would be on there. I think that would be pretty high on the odds, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But either way, what an effort it is from Daniel Chitney, who takes the top step of this podium here tonight. Matthew Kassar closing up on the gap in the championship. We'll obviously give you all the coverage of the rest of this particular championship over the next few weeks. I believe we're going to take a quick look at our calendar, if we don't mind, because it gives us an opportunity to say that we're going to take a very quick trip over to Bahrain for the next round of this championship in just a week's time. And then we fly to the other end of the world in the Americas as we take a trip to Mexico on the 17th of the 11th. And then we have a little bit of a break because we need to have a calming sense as we head through to our final round, of course, on Abu Dhabi in the Christmas period, the 1st of December. That will be it here, though, for this particular race. And what a fabulous one it was. Saudi Arabia proved to be a challenge for some. It proved to be the biggest challenge in the end for the man at the top step of this championship at the moment. He lost a bucket of points here tonight, and will that form continue as he heads over to the Bahrain International Circuit in a week's time? Tune in with us at V1 Malta and Velocity Sports, brought to you by Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy and The Specialist, for no doubt a very interesting round 6 of season 8. Take care. Ta-da!